Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Colt and Larissa. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. If you haven't already, subscribe below. That would be cool. Comment below. I love hearing your thoughts. And let's get to the show.
I really felt bad, and I really want to make it up to Larissa. She's been wanting to move since she got here, so we're going to go look at a one-bedroom apartment.
I think that if we move to a new house with a pool, you know, more biggie.
It doesn't make me feel great when Larissa says that she wants to live without my mother, but at the same time, I want to make her happy. Our lease is up soon.
All right, so I'm guessing that most people pathologize Colt and his mom. I think that there's some red flags of some pathology in their enmeshment, but I haven't seen any overt evidence of that yet. There's some red flags for sure, but maybe we'll get more data as we move forward. And we just heard a little bit about how he feels about his enmeshment or his relationship with his mom. I don't know if it's enmeshment. It kind of looks like that, but at the very least, and listen to all my other audio-only episodes on family systems and enmeshment, but that Colt just said that he doesn't feel great about not living with his mom, but Larissa wants to move out, and so he wants to please her. So I would want to know more from Colt what that means. When you say that you will feel bad if you move away from your mom, what feelings are you talking about and why? Up until this point, what we've been shown is that the mom is quite fragile. She can fall into a lot of despair, maybe even depression, hard to tell, when she feels rejected. And she doesn't seem to have anything else going on in her life. I don't know, but I don't think she works. I don't think she has other people in her life. I don't know. So I would wonder if Colt, for many years, maybe even since he was born, has been the mom's primary companion and that the mom has no one else. A very common solution that society will propose is like, well, clean break. You got to just break that off. What realistic family therapists will do is say, okay, it's good that you have closeness. That's great. It's good to depend on each other. We don't want to propose a complete break because that usually won't work and people don't usually do it. I found that very early in my career. I would see this enmeshment and I would even propose it to the family and they'd be like, oh yeah, I guess we are over-involved in each other's lives. And then I'd think, okay, well, my job is done. They see the enmeshment for what it is and they'll take it from here. No, for years after that, we would try to disentangle these people. And it was very, very difficult because it's so hard to be alone and it's so hard to risk, because the worry for enmeshed people usually is that if there's a little bit of distance, then I'll completely lose the person entirely and then I'll be completely alone and that will be the death of me. Because usually enmeshed people, the mom, if she did engineer this enmeshed relationship with her son, probably had a lot of loss. And her husband died, from what I understand. And so that's another loss that she went through, if I remember right. So what we want to do is we want to help the mom feel okay with a little bit of distance so she can feel like, oh, we can have distance, Colt can move out, and I'll still have some attachment and some relationship with him. It doesn't mean that he's going to fly away. Also, I can have other people that I'm involved with, so I can get all of my attachment needs met from a dozen people instead of only Colt. And I'm guessing, again, this is a lot of speculation, that we would find in the mom a schema that she believes no one else will love her. I would highly suspect that if we really drilled down for the mom, she believes the only person on this planet that could love me is my son, Colt. No one else is capable of loving me. I'm guessing it's because she believes she's defective and that she's a failure, that there's something deeply wrong with her, deeply unlovable about her. And so she's desperate. Now, as a society, when we look at this, we're like, well, this mom, there's a problem with her. She's over-controlling. And certainly, but it's true on all the behaviors we see on this show. When there's jealousy, we can look at that and say, that's not fair. When there's name-calling, we can say, that's not fair. And when there's enmeshment from a mother down to a son, we say, that's not fair. But we conceptualize it in a way that makes sense to the human beings. We don't just judge it. We don't just look at it and say, like, shame on you, you're a gross person. We say, where does that come from? If we turn the camera on ourselves, we would undoubtedly, crowds of people would undoubtedly judge us in a similar way that we judge people on this show. So I guess what I'm saying is that if there are people out there watching that want to judge these people, you're free to do that. If you're a therapist, I would say you're not free to do that, by the way. This is something that I tell my students in the first week of graduate school. I'll say, there was you before you were a therapist, which means you could judge anyone you wanted to. You could hate anyone you wanted to. You could say, all Republicans are idiots, or all Democrats are snowflakes, or all people from this country are stupid, or, you could believe whatever you want to, because, that's what a lot of people do. But once you become a therapist, you don't know who's going to come into your office, and you can't do that anymore. You can't have preconceived notions and contempt for a group of people prior to them coming into your office, including people who exhibit enmeshment with their kids, or insulting other people, or someone who comes across as creepy to you. These are things that you have to learn how to deal with. It doesn't mean you just have to cope with it. It means that through proper education, supervision, experience, your own therapy, you learn how to gravitate towards an accurate conceptualization of these people, and thus it promotes compassion. That's what I always say as well, is like, you shouldn't have to drum up compassion for people. You need to conceptualize accurately, and compassion will follow. In the way that when I look at Larissa and I see her calling Colt names, I suspect she has been through relational traumas that make her quite defended and quite worried about being insulted or abandoned or something. And her solution is to call people names. Behind those names are feelings of hurt and fear and all that kind of thing. And for the mom, when I look at her, I see someone who is really quite hurt and fragile and has issues with self-esteem and with attachment security. And she is resorting to something that she probably knows isn't functional in the end. If we asked her and said, do you think it's a good idea that your only person in your life is your son? She'd probably be like, no, it's not a good idea, but I don't have any other choice, because I've tried to get other people in my life and no one loves me because I'm not a lovable person. I suspect that's what we would hear. I don't know. This is a lot of speculation, but I guess part of my relationship with you as the viewer is that I hope that you come to this channel for commentary that is not as judgmental as other kinds of commentary. At least I've heard that from people. So when I started to react, now I'm just riffing about me in this reaction video series, is that when I first started doing these reaction videos, I started with Love is Blind. And I just watched it and just sort of commented on it. And then people would comment below and they'd say like, wow, this is kind of interesting because this guy, he's not being judgmental. He's not just making fun of these people. He actually seems to have compassion for these people. And I was like, so that's unique? It's unique to have reaction videos to human beings that has compassion? And I thought, why is that unique? That should not be unique. That should be the default. Compassion should be the default. The judgmental attitude and the making fun of people and the online bullying and the shaming of other human beings should be the exception to the rule, especially when we're watching other people. It's like, you don't know where they come from. You don't know what's happening for them. But anyway, so when I watch this show, I'm predicting, and I've seen a little bit of comments in the, because I do read at least my comments, of people being, I think, very mean to these people. Now, maybe these people are worthy of being mean to because of future behavior, but not yet. I haven't seen that yet. So I'm quite protective of everyone, including these people, until they prove otherwise, which they might. So I guess let's continue watching. Comment below. Let me know what you think about that, because I am genuinely curious. I don't know if I can change the way that I am, but I am genuinely curious what you think. If I was to model my own approach to emotions, I guess I have to own my own emotions, and I'm worried that you who are watching right now are like, I don't think he's mean enough to them, or I think he is too forgiving. He's too much of an apologist for terrible behavior, or something like that. He seems to be an apologist for the mom Debbie's over-controlling, terrible mothering of Colt. I guess that's maybe my primary worry, and that's why I'm yammering on so much right now. Let's get back to the show.
In a few months, so it's a good time to look, right?
I prefer to move to another place and just live with Colt and me. Because I think that he should be a man. Colt, ele age como o bebezinho da mamãe. Ele está há 33 anos vivendo com a mãe dele. Not easy. Because a mother always will protect and always think that the son is right.
All right, so that was interesting. I was with her for the most part. This whole man thing, I don't know if I'm so hip on that, but there's nothing wrong with her saying, I want to live with him. I don't want the mom to be in the house. It stands to reason. You want to bond. You want you want more of him for the marriage instead of his energies going towards the mom. She probably isn't super enthusiastic about living with the mom, and so there's nothing wrong with having that request. A lot of people in her position would. But then at the end right there, you hear her say, because if he lives with his mom is going to support him, and I don't want that. That's an interesting statement. Like, in line of what we've been seeing this far, that's another little yellow flag of intimate partner violence, entitlement, or the beginnings of it. If we reverse the genders, it's easier to see because we, in our minds, have a much more firm template of the male abuser. So imagine that a guy and a woman, or a man and a woman are together, and the man is like, I'm trying to get my fiance, my girlfriend, away from her mother because her mother supports her and will tell her that she's right, and I don't want that. I don't want my girlfriend's mother around supporting the dumb ideas of my girlfriend. Now, I'm using my words to kind of accentuate something, but there it's easier to see, I think, for people. I don't know, but let's listen back to that because, again, there's nothing wrong with her saying, I want to live alone with my husband. I don't want the mom to be there. It's totally fine. But listen to what she said after that.
Da mamãe. Ele está há 33 anos vivendo com a mãe dele. Not easy. Because a mother always will protect and always think that the son is right.
Hi, my name is Karen.
Hi,
Welcome to Lot 5.
Larissa, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, she pronounces it Larissa. I guess I should be saying that too. So for Larissa, she said that. Now, I don't know if she is an intimate partner violence perpetrator. She probably isn't. These are just little red flags that I'm seeing. And so I guess I'm kind of slightly worried about that. I guess my primary worry is that, one, they're just not very compatible, and two, that they don't have a way of understanding each other. That for her, she's just like, I'm trying to get him to do this, and I need him to do it. And for him, he's like trying to please her and not really, having them see eye to eye. What would be great is if the two of them sat down and Colt was like, okay, Larissa, let me tell you what's going on for me. I'm worried about my mom. I want to please you, and I don't want to live with my mom either. I want to grow up, and I want to move out of my mom's house. But I worry about my mom a lot. But I love you, and I want to move out with you. So rest assured, I'm dedicated to you and me working out. But I'm just so terrified about my mom, and so I don't know what to do about that. And then for Larissa to be, I hear you, and I love that you love your mom. That's great. But I don't want her to live with us. And so let's figure out a way, maybe there's a phased plan that we could go on or something. And being on the same team, they're about to get married. They're in a relationship. They're supposed to be on the same team. They should understand each other and support each other and be mutual towards each other instead of right from the beginning, it seems like they're on opposite teams.
Meet you.
And I'm Colt.
Colt, nice to meet you. Follow me.
Oh, I love it here.
All right, here's our beautiful loft.
This door is so huge.
320 is my number.
320.
Okay, this is the living room.
Oh, nice.
Holy cow.
So I'm guessing that what is going to happen is this place is going to be too expensive for Colt. And we're going to have another scene where Larissa is very upset that Colt is not spending enough money on her. I'm just going to take a stab at that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, it's comfortable. I love it.
My lifetime dream is moving to here. You know? Where we live now, we don't have enough privacy because we live with Debbie. Debbie is like a cat. She disappears, but she appears when it's the time to make your life a hell. She tried to sing really nice, but she likes to manipulate the situation, to be the victim and I be the evil one.
Okay, so let's take Larissa's word for it that behind the scenes, we haven't seen this on the show, that the mother likes to manipulate things to make Larissa look like the bad person, like the evil one. Okay, maybe we'll get some more data along those lines.
And I can live with the situation anymore. But it's hard because I can't work during the visa process in America. So I can't do anything with money. It's Colt's decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place.
And how much cost here?
This particular home, furnished, is $32.50 a month. And we do have unfurnished homes in the same style.
Who shows up to a walkthrough with an agent, a private, you know, if it was an open house, it'd be different, right? Because you just sort of walk by. But who shows up without knowing how much it costs? And $32.50, which sounds reasonable given how nice this place is, furnished as well. I'm just going to take a guess and say that that is out of Colt's budget. He couldn't afford a $20,000 SUV. I'm guessing that he's going to say that's way over budget. And of course, Larissa is going to get upset. And it's another reason why Colt doesn't really love her. So why did they even look at this place?
For $16.50.
$16.50? I mean, this is a little bit more money than we currently spend in our rent.
Yeah.
So, and we all live together. So, I mean, I just want to talk to my mother and make sure that she's okay, not living with us, though. It's complicated, right? It's not easy. I wish I could say, okay, yeah, it's just you and I, but it's not. It's my mother.
No, I think that if she could find other place. Don't you?
I take care of my mother. You knew that, okay?
Right. I don't know why I always stop on such terrible screenshots of her face, but anyway. So Cole just said that. You said, I take care of my mother. You knew that. I wish we knew more about that. Well, she's disabled. She's suicidal. She can't really, I've tried to get her into therapy. She won't go. If I'm not around, even when I'm around, she can become very depressed and I can get very worried about her. And I'm the only person she has in her life. Now, if we heard something along those lines, we might be like, oh, okay. So it makes sense. What we've seen on the show is nothing. Everything that I have said, other than we saw Debbie, she did break down into some fragile emotions pretty easily, I thought. But aside from that, I've been speculating. But I think it's possible, right? But it doesn't lend itself to the narrative that Colt is a mama's boy and there's something wrong with him. I wonder if we really heard the full story, if we might have more understanding as to why Colt would do it. And maybe for Larissa as well. Maybe if she understood really what was going on for Debbie. I just can't stop laughing at the let's get back to the show.
I'm saying you knew these things coming in. It's not like you're surprised. Oh, here, by the way, here's my 66-year-old mother. Look, she's the only family I have left. My father's dead, okay?
The problems of my dream is live a place like this, you know?
You can't.
All right, so he just gave us a little bit more information from his side as well, that emotionally for him, she's the only family member he has left, and his dad is dead. So for both Colt and the mom, they might still be grieving the loss of the father, and it might be really hard for them to consider that separation. But if they were given a chance and if they had a therapist to help them out with that, it might make it easier for them. There's a lot of people out there that I have treated like this, where they lost someone 20 years ago and they still haven't really grieved it yet. Usually the reason why is because as a society and as a family system, we don't allow people to grieve very much. We say, well, you know, 2 weeks tops, maybe a month, that's normal. Anything after that, there's something wrong with you. You're not moving on. You got to let it go. Stop dwelling on the past. This sort of stuff drives me crazy. And incidentally, basically means I'll always be employed, because there will always be clients out there who are being denied the process of grief and will come to a therapist because they have secondary issues, depression, anxiety, relationship problems, these kinds of problems. We all need to allow ourselves and other people to have natural grief, and that can be a lifetime. You can lose someone and have a lifetime of grief. Now, that doesn't mean that Larissa isn't valid in saying, okay, I get it, but I still don't want the mom living with us. If the two of us are going to live together and be together, I don't want her around. I need this to happen between you and me. How do they work that out between the two of them, though? How do they work it out with Debbie? What would it look like with Debbie in the future? Now, I'm also wondering if Colt is thinking, so wait a second, if we don't live with my mom and I'm the one who pays for my mom's mortgage and rent, that means I have to pay for 2 homes. And so what does that look like? I don't know. There's just a lot of speculation. But what I'm looking for in this conversation is understanding and compassion. That Larissa could assert herself and say, I want this, and I understand where you're coming from, Colt. And I think it's great that you love your mom, but I don't want her living with us. So let's look at the budget. Let's figure this out. That would be a rational approach. I don't think that's what's going to happen here.
You can't make me choose between you or my mother. That's not fair.
What if you have to pick?
It's not fair. I would never ask you to make that choice. My mother, she's taken care of me all of her life. She's the only fan that I have left. I don't have any brothers or sisters. So she's retired, she's disabled, and I feel like it's my responsibility, it's my onus to look after her.
You can let me.
Right. So for most of us, we might say, well, it's normal that he might feel responsible to check in on her, maybe to help her out with the bills, you know, who knows. But to be so emotionally close to her at the expense of your own life, that's asking too much. And that the mom, Debbie, is responsible for having her own support system. And that would be rational. That would be the approach I would have with this. I'm worried because so far Larissa is just saying, look, Colt, you just have to choose me, and you're just going to have to get rid of her. And she even compared her to a cat. She's like, she's a cat. She's like around and she's annoying. And that's not a realistic approach. And so I don't know. I'm talking a lot because I guess I'm just really worried about these two. For Larissa, she deserves to have the romance that she wants. I think she just wants someone to have that kind of romantic, uncomplicated love and attention that I think she clearly has been asking for. And for Colt, I think he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think he feels like, if I don't take care of my mom, she's probably going to kill herself or something like that. But I want my own life too, so I don't know what to do. And I kind of depend on my mom too, because she's been the only one in my life this whole time. I don't know how I would feel if I didn't have my mom in my life emotionally. And the mom, obviously, you know, she seems to be suffering a lot. So I just see 3 people asking for very normal things and having unnecessary conflict around it. There's a way through this situation where everyone can get their needs met. And I'm worried that no one's going to get their needs met.
Know when you guys are ready.
That sounds
Okay?
great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Come along, darling. Don't forget your purse.
Uh-huh.
When I proposed to Larissa originally, she knew about my living situation with my mother. So I don't know if things have changed, but I want her to be happy and not regret her decision to move here to be with me. So it's going to be a very tough conversation with my mother.
The other question I have is for Colt is, does he intend on moving out or not? Or is he just playing a game to try to manipulate Larissa into agreeing to live with the mom? And that Colt is saying, yes, I want to move out and please you, my future wife. But in the back of his mind, he's thinking, well, I'm never actually going to do that. I don't see any signs of that, but I wonder if that's what's happening. All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I watched 90 Day Fiancé. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.